Buenas noches. Good evening. Les agradezco por la atención. Bueno, claramente las bebidas a lo mejor se llevan parte de la atención y sería lógico que así fuera. Good evening, all of you. Thank you for your attention. This is the Latin American and Caribbean Regional at-Large Organization Showcase. We are honored to have you all here. Y especialmente estamos complacidos con la presencia del presidente y CEO de ICANN, a quien le doy la palabra a Rod Beckstrom. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Andres, and for your leadership, your great leadership of LACRALO, and really to all of you for the amazing work that you do across Latin America that's so important. And as we discussed this morning in the various sessions, that the beauty of this model is a bottom-up multi-stakeholder model, and what you do in your 36 groups and structures across Latin America is really vital and encouraging and valuable to ICANN. And we also understand that you continue to grow as a network, and there's even further opportunities with some countries who don't yet have at-large structures, and very much hope that you'll have an opportunity to expand your important network to those geographies. And of course, we celebrate your accomplishment in working for many years to create a board seat out of the at-large community as well. But we know that all that means is you elect one member to the board, and by the way, the board members, all of the elected board members, including myself, and I'm effectively elected by virtue of the position that I'm hired into, ex officio, as they say. But the board members are elected by constituencies, but in fact are committed to serving the global public interest, which means that they're not actually representatives of the specific communities, by the way. So the structures here are still involved in representing themselves, which is critical. We're just very appreciative of that. And I'm extremely honored today to introduce, I think, one of the really very significant, in fact, amazing pioneers in ICANN and the multi-stakeholder model. And that's Dr. Alejandro Pizzanti, an amazing person who many of you may know is a professor at the Autonomous University in Mexico. He also has really helped to build this organization. Alejandro was a member of the first elected board of ICANN in its history, and was not only a member of the board, first board, but remained on that board for many years, and for 7 years he was the vice chairman of ICANN, serving at Vint Cerf's side, and Vint, of course, being one of the fathers of the internet and one of the shapers of ICANN and many of the other multi-stakeholder bodies in the community. But Alejandro has been an enduring flame of wisdom, energy, and commitment to this entire sector, and he's also been an invaluable coach and many times advisor to me. So it's with tremendous honor that I hand this over to Dr. Alejandro Pizzanti. Please join me in one. Thank you.
Muy buenas noches. I'm very thankful for this introduction. I took the decision to speak in English today because this is always a big question in an ICANN meeting and in many other international meetings. Latin Americans, I think in general, and I will speak for myself individually anyway, are proud of our region, in love with our language, Spanish and all its local flavors. It's well understood by people who speak Portuguese, so the region is really, and we do our best to try to understand Portuguese, so the continent is mostly a single block of language. Latin America and the Caribbean, as said, is not a Spanish-speaking region, and in fact we isolate the Caribbean almost every time we speak Spanish. And despite being proud of our language or languages and culture, we are also great hosts. We are a very welcoming family, and we loved our visitors to be comfortable and well communicated with us. So as I've seen, when this session takes place in English, it doesn't need, no one needs earphones for a translation. If it goes in Spanish, some of you will go for them, and that tells me that the right thing to do is to speak in English and still be proud of being a Latin American. So first, I mean, that's it. You know, well, wait till I say something of substance. You may find a reason to boo me. I'm very thankful for Rod's words in introducing me. He's too kind. My best aspiration as a pioneer and as a doer of something of some relevance in this community, and even this will not be an original phrase, is that I've been privileged to be granted a chance to stand on the shoulders of giants. And as I said, I don't know if they will dismiss me from their lapels or actually at least allow me to hear the rutterings. I've been immensely fortunate in joining ICANN when we were starting to build this organization, and therefore have much more time and attention from great people like Vint Cerf and Steve Crocker. This organization was extremely fortunate to have people like them and many others whom I won't start naming in order not to skip others, to form this organization with a great spirit, with great respect for the technical traditions of the internet. And this will be my first substantive point. The technical traditions of the internet are of great depth and of great reach. The technical standards, the design parameters of the internet were of great foresight, and some of them are actually apt to morph into societal values, into ethical values. Things like the end-to-end principle, or interoperability, or openness to interconnection, were started just as technical desires. People didn't even know if they were going to be able to really build a great network with only these principles. Sticking to these principles made it possible to actually create an amazingly scalable, I mean, if you look at the engineering side before you look at the social, just to think that this network started with 4 computers, and every year, every duplication of its size, it seemed like it was going to test the limits of the protocols, and it has adapted resiliently to all kinds of growth, to all kinds of layering placed on top of it, to one important thing that we suffer here, which is the superposition of the semantics of the domain name system over what's technically only a set of bits mapping to another set of bits. The internet has grown through all of this with a single central coordination point, which is the DNS and the assignment, the allocation of IP addresses and the database of IETF protocol parameters. This is the only central point that actually has to exist on the internet. To scale that way gives us great responsibility in the stewardship of this resource that we have to perform within the ICANN community. Norms that were written as technical indications of what you should do with bits, like be conservative with what you send and liberal towards what you receive, have become social norms in our community, and we have to stay and stick to them. Great debates like the debate over network neutrality or what should take its place to make sure that we have this internet for all, this internet for everyone, which is ISOC's motto. All these things need specific, dedicated, intelligent work from us. The at-large community is a very significant community, and it creates some of the most complex institutional design problems for ICANN. The institutional design of ICANN is already complex enough when you think simply of registries. Let's only concentrate for a second in registries. You have GTLD registries and you have CCTLD registries. The institutional design, for those of you who are managers who have this kind of experience, is already unbearable in the disparity of these communities, because there's the number of CCTLDs is bounded by the number of territorial units that are recognized by the ISO 3166 list of the UN, whereas the number of GTLD registries is theoretically unbounded. And we are suffering by the fact that it's not so easy to lift those bounds by creating new GTLDs, but in principle, this could grow endlessly. So, and that's only the simplest, core part of the operation of the DNS. When we come to the users of the world, we really have an unsolvable problem. We are looking for the least bad of suboptimal solutions. And I think we have found a good one. We did an experiment, which was the broad worldwide elections to represent the users worldwide. And ICANN had the wisdom and the resiliency to go through that experiment, to get 5 good directors out of the process, and to hold its own and dismiss the process as a very risky, very fraught process that could destabilize the organization and therefore destabilize the DNS. So we would have effects coming from way up in layer 8, affecting the most significant infrastructures of the internet. We went to the process that brought you in finally here, which was substituting this general, everybody votes, whoever you are, how many friends you have, bring them up, like the party who governed my country for 70 years did, put some peasants in a truck, drive them to the voting booths, have them vote, give them a sandwich and something to drink, and they would know they would be happy, and whoever had more trucks got the election, so the government usually did. So we did away with that concept, and we went to a painstaking process that took a lot of fire, which is the web of trust concept upon which the present at large is built, which is in every country, in every community, in every technical or specialty community, there are a few people who know other people, and they will vouch for the people they know. So every new organization will be peer certified to actually be who they say they are. That's the key concept of the at-large. And the key concept of that key concept is called trust. We have to be able to trust each other in this community in order to come together, in order to be sure that we're going to admit every single new member, knowing that whoever is vouching for them is honest about them, they know them, they tell you it's 3 engineers in the middle of a jungle or 150,000 engineers in Silicon Valley. You know who they are, you know for whom they speak, and you can comfortably sit at the table and say, we are looking after the interests of the users worldwide. But that's a key concept. The at-large has taken a great step. This is a very significant validation of the concept of the web of trust, which we started with, by being able to elect a director and seat a director at the end of this week, who is Sebastián Bachelet. I'm very glad about the person. I'm comfortable about the process. But the most important thing is now the challenges for the at-large are even larger than the victory, than the triumph of owning teeth to the point of sitting someone on the board. These challenges are enormous now, because if we were trusting each other and trying to be able to be trustworthy enough to shape policy through discussion, through the moral weight, through the spending of some money which is channeled into the same community that decides on it for travel and organization of meetings, now many of you are really going to be under pressure, because the next director, the next election of the at-large is surely going to be watched much more closely by the huge interests, and not always very principled interests, that move around us. And even the ways some of you may be called to influence the already seated director who will be there by the end of the week, will already not always be transparent. So if the at-large community has among its main functions making sure that ICANN is kept transparent and accountable, the challenge of being functional, transparent, accountable, and credible not only by the transparency of our operations, but by the quality of our recommendations, these are going to be huge. I'm very happy, I celebrate with everybody that we have been able to sit a director in the board. For us, who have been in the institutional design of ICANN for many years, this is really a very, very, very significant moment, a great motive for celebration. I hope and will certainly work with as many of you as possible in my different conditions as an at-large structure, finally, to make sure that we deliver quality input, quality feedback, substantial and not only procedural feedback, that we make sure, again, that all these calls for transparency and accountability also do not bog ICANN again in process, in a swamp, in a mire process as when Stuart Lynn first made that diagnosis that started that reform of an organization asphyxiated by process. And that we go to substance, quality, and then the thing that of beauty that I think that has to emerge from the at-large, and I'm absolutely sure it will happen, is there are a couple of new generations on the internet. They are already making a new history, a new phase of history on the internet. They are trusting that the forefathers, so to speak, did routing well, they did the domain name systems design well, all these basic systems work. They have been proven to be flexible, elastic, resilient, and able to grow. And now people are talking about the Internet of Things. They are talking about, you know, all the buzz that goes with interactive advertising, many intensive uses of this infrastructure. And I hope we can attract these young people, these dynamic, energetic, new generations of artists, of creators, of artists of engineering, as well as artists of art, so to speak, that we can all make a very, very happy, a very exciting organization. I really think that weight is very well carried by you. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Alejandro. It's definitely a privilege for the ones who participate in LACRALO to have Alejandro's contribution, his experience, and his wisdom, and his advice, not only to the list and to the General Assembly of LACRALO, but personally to me as the president, has been a great contribution in the whole, at least the last 2 years that he was directly involved. So it's an honor to have you here, Alejandro, and to share your concepts. Talking about also wisdom and experience and contributions, the next speaker is in the same line, in the same direction. I would like to explain a little bit about how the bottom-up process works in LACRALO, in at-large. At-large is not only the at-large advisory committee with 15 members, we also have the 5 regional organizations, and we have over 120 LASs, 120 groups of people that represent users, that defend the interests of the individual users all over the world. 36 are from Latin America, and we are honored also to have, as a Latin American, the person who, until this Friday, is sitting for at-large at the ICANN board. The liaison of the at-large community in the ICANN board is Wanda Scarpesini, and we have her here. Gracias, Wanda.
Bueno, yo soy chiquita, ¿no? Así que voy a sacar el micrófono de la... bueno, gracias por tenerme acá. Por la misma razón que explanó Alejandro, me voy a intentar hablar en español, pero ciertamente en portuñol. Así que todos que por favor no lo comprendan, pueden poner, inclusive los españoles. Así que mi idea de hablar aquí es traer un poquito de cosas positivas que tuvimos en estos longos años. Una cosa importante, que números que puedo partilhar con ustedes son: nuestra región tiene una representación de personas que representa 8.7% de la población mundial. Pero cuando hablamos de usuarios de Internet, es con sorpresa positiva que vemos que tenemos un número de usuarios que es 10.3% de todos los usuarios del mundo. Así que tuvimos un crecimiento muy importante, mucho mayor do que el crecimiento de nuestra población. Tenemos un crecimiento de usuarios cada vez mayor. Y voy a traer algunos números. Por ejemplo, el Caribe en estos 10 años, desde 2000 hasta 2010, ha crecido como 1.625%. En la región de América Central y México ha crecido como 1.094%. En Sudamérica, a donde estamos ahora, ha crecido 995% en estos 10 años. Así que, aunque tenemos un largo camino a seguir, a conquistar, como acaba de hablar aquí el ministro de Colombia, tenemos muchas cosas a hacer por la frente, pero logramos mucho éxito, mucho más de lo que podemos reconocer. Porque muchas veces nosotros tenemos un poco de complejo, ¿no? Que las cosas no andan con la misma velocidad que andan en los países más desarrollados, pero no es verdad. Cuando comparamos cómo está la parte, por ejemplo, de Europa del Este, ¿no? Que entró ahora en el grupo americano, vemos que ellos, que estaban en situación parecidísima con la nuestra, lograron crecer 500%, algo como aquí. Nosotros estamos creciendo mucho más, que tenemos ganas de estar conectados en la Internet. Y lo hacemos de todas las formas, pero logramos estar conectados. Tenemos dificultad de conexiones, tenemos dificultad de redes de telecomunicación, todavía tenemos un crecimiento fuerte. Esto me agrada compartir con todos porque muchas veces es necesario que nosotros nos orgullemos de nuestras condiciones, cómo luchamos con las cosas, cómo las conquistamos, aunque tengamos un momento de dificultad, logramos éxito. Todo esto es porque tenemos ese éxito, porque muchas acciones que fueron hechas durante estos 10 años, públicas y privadas, nos ayudaron a llegar a estos números ahora. Con un número largo de penetración, estamos toda nuestra región, cerquita del 30% de penetración real de Internet en las casas. Así que no son números flacos, son números importantes y tenemos que considerar la importancia de estos números. Pero en estas acciones, una de las acciones que me parece muy relevante es esta que nos une ahora. El número de ALS que tenemos en la región son 36 ahora. Podemos crecer con una meta de 1 por país. Pegar estos países menores que no están participando, que no tienen una representación en ATLAS, en LACRALO especialmente, y hacerlos entrar en nuestro grupo y lograr los beneficios que tenemos tenido en este tiempo. Otras acciones que quiero aprovechar la presencia de Olga acá, que está así, trayendo muchos beneficios, si logramos ampliarla, enlargarla mucho más, vamos a tener que la Escuela del Sur. La Escuela del Sur fue muy interesante en Brasil, fue muy interesante en Buenos Aires, y la próxima va a ser en México. Quizá la otra pueda ser en Colombia. Así que tracemos para este grupo personas de una calidad fantástica. Podemos preguntar a nuestras amigas del grupo del Fellowship Programa que cómo está la calidad de estas personas que están acá y que la mayoría estuvo en la South School, en la Escuela del Sur de Gobernanza de Internet, porque fueron seleccionadas con mucho criterio y claro, están felicísimos los grupos de fellowship porque es un nivel que no se ha alcanzado antes. Así que este es un esfuerzo que está siendo hecho en la región que debemos apoyar. buscar saber cómo vamos a contribuir, porque tiene resultado efectivo en diseminar el conocimiento y lo más importante, que todos nosotros contribuimos de alguna forma con nuestros países, con nuestras comunidades, llevando conocimiento, llevando la información necesaria para que todos tengan desarrollo y progreso en nuestra región. Muchas gracias y vuelvo después para hablar de mi ALS. Déjame.
Obrigado, Wanda. Ahora en español. Evidentemente, tus últimas palabras me obligan a mí como presidente de LACRALO a decir que si bien el grupo me consta que el grupo de personas que está hoy asistiendo a sus primeros ICANN meetings por el Fellowship Program tienen un nivel que no se ha alcanzado antes y muchos han sido alumnos de la Escuela de Gobernanza de Internet del Sur, muchos también participan en LACRALO con ALS a las que se han incorporado o en las que ya formaban parte, y muchos van a hacer su presentación también aquí hoy en el minuto que tenga cada ALS para presentarse, y eso también es un orgullo. LACRALO no solo tiene el mayor número de ALS y las discusiones más fluidas en la lista, digamos, es algo de lo cual no sé si sentirnos orgullosos a veces es una dificultad, pero evidentemente también tiene un grupo grande de jóvenes muy entusiastas y con mucha capacidad, y eso como expectativa para el futuro, para aportar una voz desde los usuarios y desde una sociedad civil, es algo que es alentador. Respecto del proceso de colocar una persona en el directorio de ICANN por primera vez, también recuerdo, y es algo de los que podamos sentirnos orgullosos, ese proceso que fue diseñado durante un año de discusiones y deliberaciones, en el cual evidentemente puede tener sus dificultades o puede tener sus críticas, pero fue hecho de abajo hacia arriba. Desde LACRALO me acuerdo claramente, hace aproximadamente un año hicimos comentarios sobre cada punto de un white paper que había hecho un grupo de trabajo para elaborar esta construcción de un proceso en el cual de 50 candidatos llegamos a obtener, a elegir a Sebastián Bayolet para ocupar a partir del viernes un puesto como director votante por los usuarios de Internet. Nos sentimos orgullosos de que él esté aquí también representándonos, y le voy a dar la palabra a Sebastián para que se dirija y les cuente un poco.
Gracias, Andrés. Me voy a hablar en español y después en inglés, pero me voy a olvidar mi lenguaje maternal por hoy día. Quiero decirle que si estamos juntos aquí, hay una historia por eso, porque los de LACRALO, de África, han hecho eso los primeros, y tengo que regresarlo porque estaba una idea muy interesante. Después los europeos, como siempre, siguieron la idea de los africanos, y ahora estamos aquí y está muy bien. I will switch to English because I want to say that if Alessandro Pisanti says that he was on the shoulder of giant, I guess he's now a giant himself, and I had the pleasure to work with him since the 10 years I was here, and I would like to say, he said it's a sentence you already listened, but I was seated on his shoulder for a long time. I tried to help him when he was really reorganize ICANN, what we call ICANN 2.0, and for us it was the beginning of this long story of at-large ALS's RALOs. And the RALO finally took place in 2007, and it's not so long ago that we are able now to have one voting board member. I am very proud to be this one. I will try to do my best to do what you have put in your votes to have me on the board. And I know that, as Rod say, I do not accountable to you anymore, but I think I will stay, and I hope that you will help me to stay accountable to you also, because I think it's a very important point that, of course, at the end of the day, I will make my own decision and I will vote what I think it's a good way to vote. But I hope that you will be able to raise the issue, to participate to the policy development, to advise the board, and I will try to put your advice, even if I will not be a liaison, to the board also, and to explain that. I would like also to add one idea here. It's that if the LSs grow in number, and in this region particularly, I guess it starts from what we, I think as a milestone was the summit we organized in Mexico, in your region. And it was a very important time for at large. I will not promise you at all to gain to the board that we will have a face-to-face General Assembly in each region once upon a time, or we will have a second summit, but I can promise you that I will do my best to obtain that, because I think it's so important for ICANN, the possibility to have meeting and to discuss policy for the member, for the representative of the at-large structure, that we need to find a solution for that. And finally, I want to thank you because the participation in the discussion for the election of the board member was very important. I think it was as well as before the summit, where we had a big and important participation of the LSs. Here, for this topic, it was very, very participatory. And I hope that you will not stop here. You will not, just because you have the possibility to vote for one person, and that was a competition. I hope that now you will also stay involved in the at-large community to participate and to decide and discuss the policy. I was too long already. Thank you very much. Gracias, Andrés.
Bueno. Again in English, and this is not like that I like to be switching from one language to other, but it's just because we represent the identity of LACRALO in both languages. We are not only Latin American region, we also have 6 LASs and going on, increasing from the Caribbean. And we are like in our 4th year of working and discussing, we are founding like a possible new identity between the 2 regions, or the now one region that we have. So in honor of, I had the impulse of speaking in Spanish because of the proud that Alejandro was talking, but speaking in English is fair also to a huge part of our community in LACRALO, so that's why I'm doing this. Also, Sebastian's word regarding the little time that we have been discussing and we have been in this path of the representation of individual users and the capacity building of ourselves as delegates. At the moment, and at 2009 in Mexico, it was one of the milestones, and there it was the first time that we had the chance to, I remember Cheryl Landonor's words, it was the first time that we get to have breakfast with the board. The board was hearing us, was hearing about our impressions, what we have to say. We already had the at-large advisory committee and the liaison at the board, but we had this interaction in breakfast. Now we are getting in the last couple of meetings, we we advance and we have the possibility to have lunch with the board. And Sebastián maybe would help us, as Cheryl says, with you maybe we have the opportunity to have dinner with the board sometime soon. Cheryl Landon is the chair of the At-Large Advisory Committee, and I would like to introduce her and her energy and words.
And I'm delighted that you switched to English because I have no choice, of course. I have no language skills. I have few skills. Language is not one of them. I brought this up the front for a very good reason. Because whilst I'm going to apologise for having to speak in my mother tongue, which is Australian, it's not even English, and they don't do any interpretation into Australian, so I understand the problems. I'm looking around at one of the most vibrant, one of the most exciting, one of the most active, vivacious and energetic regions, and it goes to the leadership, salute, and it goes to each and every one of you, salute, to LACRALO to begin with. That said, and taking centre stage, because I do, each at-large structure that we've heard so much about, we're going to hear from about half of them, aren't we? I think, what is it, 14, 15 that you've got here tonight? 15, fantastic. The regional showcases, and this is the third, only the third we've done, is part of the growth of the voice of the individual internet user in ICANN. And that's what each and every one of you, whether you're part of the at-large or whether you're just here for the drinks, each and every one of you are actually the voice that we want to hear. You've heard about how the ALAC was developed, you've heard about the regional development. You should hear, of course, that part of that inaugural ALAC structure was strong representation from your region. One of the first, in fact the first, in the first 5 at-large structures was Latin America and Caribbean. And of course, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the very first of the regions to sign the memorandum. Correct, the very first, exactly right. So you are leaders. But now we need to make sure that the voice is being heard from where it needs to be heard, which is not 15 people sitting in a room and 3 times a year around here. It's getting each and every one of the people you represent involved in getting their issues brought forward to ICANN. Our job is to get out to you what ICANN's talking about. Help you, if you need help, to understand what it is we mean when we talk about who is and privacy and domain tasting and issues like that. The region works in the 2 primary languages. Other regions work in many more. Our meetings, even though ICANN works in English, our meetings are facilitated wherever possible, at least in 3 languages. And if they're not, it's only because we haven't had the demand for it. Well, guess how that changes? Get involved. I'm only going to take a couple of minutes more because what I want to hear from is each of the ALSs, because that's where the work's happening. That's where the excitement is, and that's where the next, we've heard about ICANN 2.0 from Sebastián. Well, I think we're up to ALAC, or At-Large 3.0, after our recent review process. The review process we went through has given us 13 implementable recommendations. We've seen, and we're delighted with the results of the first one that's gone through. We have a voting seat on the board, an at-large selected member of the ICANN board. There are at least 12 more to deal with, and most of those are about communication, interaction with the community, and you're the community. Here's an opportunity to interact with each other. ICANN meetings, when they're in your region, are a very good opportunity to perhaps share experiences, what one ALS is doing. We're all very different. There's diversity even within a region of ALSs, let alone between the regions of the 5 that we've got. And can I just say, if you look at what's happening in the affirmation of commitments It is enshrined in those documents that ICANN has to represent our interests. They have to ask, they have to engage, and that makes us, each and every one of you, one of the most valuable assets that this not-for-profit corporation registered in California has. So think about it. That's power. Use it wisely.
Thanks very much. Bueno, 36 organizaciones componen LACRALO de 15 países. Cuando comenzamos éramos solamente 15 organizaciones de 9 países en 2006. Y muchas de ellas, de los delegados de esas asociaciones, algunos con su propio esfuerzo, están aquí. Entonces le vamos a dar un minuto a cada uno de ellos para poder expresarse. Alejandro Pisanti es representante de LACRALO de ISOC México.
Gracias, Andrés. First, after what Cheryl said, I think that deserves one more minute, and strictly a minute. There's no more ICANN they. There's no more ICANN the board or ICANN the staff, ICANN third person, especially after the election of Sebastián. After this community elects a director, it's only we. It's only we. If you don't like something ICANN is doing, you are remiss in getting it done. You have the channels, we have the channels. The users have the channels through Sebastián and many others, because before there was an elected director, there still was a lot of influence from the at-large. So let's just remember, there's no more they. It's all we. ISOC Mexico. ISOC Mexico is the chapter of the Internet Society in Mexico. We are legally constituted as a non-profit organization. We work, as ISOC does, mostly in the diffusion of technical knowledge about the Internet, especially emerging issues like IPv6, IDNs, stuff like that. And we have been successful in influencing policy in discrete ways. We don't spend money, we spend thought, energy, and words. Our latest successes were last year overturning a tax law that would tax the access to the Internet as a luxury item, and this year overturning, at least provisionally, a graduated response, a 3 strikes and out kind of law that would overprotect intellectual property interests. The campaign last year has a hashtag in Twitter. That was our main tool. It's called Internet Necesario. We took inspiration from a campaign in Venezuela, which previously had done something similar to, with respect to public spending. And Internet Necesario has become a rallying word for our region, I think, in reminding people in power who may make wrong decisions that this community doesn't allow them to take the wrong steps. Thanks.
Gracias. Before continuing with the rest of the LASs, I would like to introduce Adam Peak, which is the new, will be the new chair of the ICANN's nominating committee. I won't speak in Japanese, Adam, so English, and that's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. If I tried to speak in Japanese and English, it would confuse me as well. So anyway, so I'm the incoming nominating committee chair. From Friday afternoon, I will be trying to work for about 6 to 9 months to with a committee of 21 people. We're an independent committee of ICANN. We come from the community, but once we're established, then we act independently, and our role is to seat and to select members of ICANN's leadership. We will select 2 members of ICANN's board. We will also select 3 ALAC members, 2 members of the GNSO, and a member of the CCNSO. I'm very pleased that this year we're going to have 3 members from the Latin American and Caribbean region. There's who's on the committee? Vanda, sorry, is somewhere around, and thank you very much. Jose Salguero, thank you. I should know, I've worked with him on at least 4 different committees. And I get, as the chair, to appoint an associate chair, and it was my great pleasure to select Jacqueline Morris, who I think you all know, who was one of the founders of the at-large in the region. So, a very, very simple request. We're only as good as the candidates that we can choose from. and we really need your help in seeking candidates. You know good people. I'm sure you know people that you'd like to see on the board. You probably know people that you'd like to see in the GNSO. People with good qualities. So help us recruit candidates. So talk to us, talk to the region. We really want to hear from you. And this time next year, hopefully, we'll have some excellent new people to bring into ICANN. And of course, consider yourselves invited to submit statements of interest. We want to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. Un minuto para cada LS. Comienza Antonio Medina de Acuí, Colombia.
Muy buenas noches. Quiero presentar un saludo a nombre de la Asociación Colombiana de Usuarios de Internet. El propósito de la asociación fundamentalmente es promover la socialización, el conocimiento, el uso y el aprovechamiento de las tecnologías de información y comunicaciones y en particular de Internet en el país. En este proceso hemos identificado el participar en temas como en ICANN desde las estructuras at large. Hemos hecho el acercamiento con el Foro de Gobernanza de Internet a fin de fortalecer la tarea que estamos desarrollando a nivel interno en el país, pero también a nivel internacional. En ese proceso hemos conocido organizaciones y personas que nos han permitido crecer en esta tarea. A nivel de Colombia estamos trabajando en el Consejo Asesor del Dominio.co. Estamos igualmente desarrollando una tarea importante en relación con el nuevo régimen de protección de usuarios. Coordinamos la celebración del Día Mundial de Internet en Colombia y coordinamos la celebración en 22 países a nivel iberoamericano. Un punto que quiero destacar sobre lo que mencionaba Alejandro, que me parece importante, sobre la confianza en el proceso del mismo desarrollo que se ha dado en Internet, en donde han ido apareciendo una serie de organizaciones, como en el caso de la nuestra, y en donde nos hemos buscado ganar un espacio de participación. Creemos que otro elemento importante, además de la confianza, es el respeto por la diversidad y por las posiciones y opiniones que tenemos, proceso que se fortalece casualmente en un proceso de participación. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Antonio. Vamos a trabajar en una señal con los delegados de las ALS por el tiempo. Natalia Enciso de Apadir, Paraguay. Una de nuestras más recientes llegadas al LACRALO.
Hi, good afternoon. No, I will also speak in Spanish as we are in Colombia. I am very proud of being Latin, so I will speak in my mother tongue. Yo soy de la Asociación Paraguaya de Derecho Informático. Como Andrés dijo, nos incorporamos este año. La asociación fue fundada en el año 2002 y consta de miembros principalmente de abogados, ingenieros, informáticos y también pueden participar los estudiantes. Entre sus principales objetivos está la interacción entre el derecho y las nuevas tecnologías y crear conciencia del cambio que viene generando Internet en todas las áreas de la sociedad. Entre las actividades que realizamos principalmente seminarios, congresos, charlas y representar al país en el exterior. También trabajamos con el gobierno en grupos de estudio de leyes, principalmente estuvimos trabajando en el anteproyecto de ley de cibercrimen y de firma digital. Muchas gracias.
Excelente, Natalia. Otro de los nuevos y recién llegados es la Asociación Enredo de Colombia. La representa Francisco José Córdoba.
Thank you. We'll use this for maintaining the time. Okay. Yeah, my name is Francisco Córdoba. I'm from Enredo. This is the International Organization of Design. We are from Colombia, but we initiate work in France. But right now we have people from Colombia, and we have what we call the Club Networking Team, which is a club that gathers a lot of people of technology, content creation, and we have another event called Bibliothèque. In this event we gather all the biblioticians, the librarians, and all the people interested in how to develop internet. So the thing here is why we use the games. We are starting a serious game approach with projects with Finland, United States, and Austria, and we intend to use what Cheryl and what they said, because the localization is how you do local activities in order to have a global impact. So that's the reason Redo is here, and remember, we are a new organization, so we want to learn about you. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Francisco. Adrián Carballo, de Fundación Incluirme.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Bueno, les comento. Fundación Incluirme es la organizadora de la Escuela del Sur de Gobernanza de Internet. Está trabajando junto con CCAT. CCAT es el Centro de Capacitación de Alta Tecnología, que lleva 25 años capacitando a la ITU y a la OEA. El principal objetivo es generar nuevos líderes en gobernanza de Internet. Hemos tenido la primera escuela del Sur de Gobernanza de Internet en Buenos Aires, en el año 2009. Y este año, el 2010, en Brasil. La próxima estamos realizando el próximo año en México, del 4 al 8 de abril. Y bueno, tenemos el orgullo ya de contar con varios fellowship que han ganado y que están acá participando de la reunión de ICANN. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Adrián. Sergio Salinas Porto, de Internauta Argentina, y también a partir del viernes será miembro del comité ALAC por LACRALO, así que lo presento.
¿Qué tal? Buenas tardes, buenas noches. ¿Qué hora es? 7 de la tarde. Yo sé que Andrés ha demostrado que puede hablar más que yo, y eso es muchísimo. Mi nombre es Sergio Salinas Porto, como me dijo Andrés, presido la Asociación Argentina de Usuarios de Internet. Nuestra organización nace a partir de la unión de usuarios de Internet finales, aquellos que éramos solamente usuarios competentes de Internet y de nuevas tecnologías, profesionales de las tecnologías de información y personas que entendían que Internet podía generar algo más que una comunicación fluida, sino que podía generar, de alguna forma, incluir socialmente a otro, poder también comunicarse, generar educación, trabajo. Y en ese sentido nos creamos en el año 99 para poder desarrollar actividades en el país que tenían que ver con 3 pilares fundamentales. El primer pilar fue generar la inclusión digital en nuestra tierra. Teníamos una base de brecha digital importante y la cortamos día a día. Todavía nos queda mucho para hacer, pero ya tenemos más de 6.000 personas alfabetizadas en estos años de construcción. Por el otro lado, generamos defensa del derecho al consumidor, y esto tiene que ver con empezar a discutir algunos temas que nos suceden a los consumidores, aquellos que tenemos problemas con cuestiones banales, como es facturación con empresas de telefonía y demás. Y el tercer punto, y que para nosotros es fundamental, es la intervención en políticas públicas. Y esto tiene que ver con una fuerte creencia que solamente la comunidad organizada puede desarrollar cambios en sociedad. Las organizaciones debemos tener, por lo menos, y en este es nuestro pensamiento, una cabal fuerza para poder desarrollar este tipo de cosas. Y es así que nosotros el año 2009 presentamos, junto a la Presidenta de la Nación de nuestro país, la Ley de Servicios de Comunicación Audiovisual. Fue presentada donde, entre otras de las cosas, se incluyen las nuevas tecnologías como parte de la que era anteriormente la Ley de Radiodifusión, y se prevé, entre otras cosas, la convergencia comunicacional. ¿Estoy en el minuto? Bueno, muy bien, muchas gracias. Falta hablar de Fluir, pero hablaré después. ¿Hablo de Fluir? Bueno, me queda un ratito más, así que voy a hablar de la Federación Latinoamericana de Usuarios de Internet. ¿Viste? Robé un minuto. Voy a hablar de la Federación Latinoamericana de Usuarios de Internet. Es una organización que nace a partir de ICANN. Y esto lo tengo que decir porque nos encontramos muchas organizaciones con el tema del Día Mundial de Internet. Cada una de nuestras organizaciones tenía vinculación directa con ser las oficinas técnicas del Día de Internet en nuestros países, pero además teníamos, yo recuerdo en el 2005 cuando entramos en ICANN, en aquel meeting que se hizo en la ciudad de Mar del Plata, donde nos juntamos con Ageia Densi y creo que con Carlos nos encontramos en el lobby, estaba también Sebastián Belagamba, que estaba dando vueltas por acá recién. Empezamos a encontrar en ICANN un lugar donde podíamos discutir otras cosas que para nosotros eran desconocidas. Los veíamos todos los días, pero tenían nombres extraños, tenían siglas, la verdad es que nosotros peleábamos todos los días con cuestiones de seguridad, de dominios no, porque en el caso de nuestro país, especialmente, los dominios a lo mejor tenían otra característica que la de casi todo el resto del mundo. Pero sí empezamos a ver que podíamos empezar a incorporar organizaciones que hicieran lo mismo que nosotros y que participaran de la rica vida de ICANN. Y es así que empezamos con algunas organizaciones juntándonos. Recuerdo que en el 2006, 2007, 2008 éramos 3 organizaciones, después fuimos más. Hoy hay 9 organizaciones aplicadas, no todas están en ICANN. Hay 4 que están en proceso de aplicación, que estamos viendo, y que alguna de ellas seguramente se incorpore a la rica vida en principio del LACRALO y luego incorporando esto como si fuera un tobogán a la rica vida de todo ICANN. Bueno, ahí sí, muchas gracias y gracias por Andrés, quiero agradecer profundamente a todos. A mí me toca ahora tener una responsabilidad muy grande que comenzó, por nuestro RALO comenzó Carlos. Y esto no es menor porque hay toda una cimentación de trabajo que se ha realizado a partir de nuestros 2 primeros representantes que tuvimos en la región, luego con Silvia de Brasil que se incorporó y ahora me toca a mí. Así que bueno, quiero agradecer a mi RALO, pero además quiero agradecer la oportunidad de poder participar de ICANN. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Sergio. La otra representante de el RALO en ALAC es Silvia Leite de Internauta Brasil y va a presentar su ALS.
Hola. Nuestra organización Internauta Brasil es un grupo de gente que se ha incorporado, un grupo de voluntarios, y nuestra meta principal es la inclusión digital. Trabajamos en el estado de San Pablo, pero también a nivel nacional. Somos 190 millones de brasileros. Somos porque, a pesar de que nací en Argentina, me siento brasilera y también tengo mi pasaporte brasilero, por eso digo somos. Tenemos un trabajo grande para hacer y somos la base de la pirámide. Enseñamos cómo manejar una computadora y enseñamos a la gente qué es ICANN. Entonces, en realidad necesitamos de ICANN, pero también ICANN necesita de nosotros, porque al estar en la base de la pirámide nosotros estamos generando los nuevos clientes de ICANN. Así que nuestra función principal es esa. Estamos muy orgullosos de, ya tenemos formados varios telecentros y la idea la alegría de ver a las personas poder manejar una computadora y después poder comunicarse con los parientes o poder usar la internet es la mayor alegría, una de las mayores alegrías que he tenido en mi vida. Así que es una pasión que tenemos junto con mis compañeros de Internauta Brasil y eso es básicamente lo que hacemos. Gracias.
La Internet Society Argentina es una de las primeras ALS de este LACRALO. Tal es así el privilegio que tenemos de contar con algunas personas con liderazgo en la región y a nivel mundial. Hoy Cavalli se hizo un tiempo de presidir el GNSO Council, como está haciendo durante este meeting, y viene y cuenta sobre su ALS un minuto.
Gracias, Andrés. En realidad voy a hablar del capítulo argentino de Internet Society. Yo no soy la presidenta, soy la secretaria del capítulo, pero Moni no está acá, Mónica Ávalo Laforgia, así que voy a tomarme la libertad de hablar por ella. El capítulo de Internet Society Argentina, Sebastián está por ahí, no me acuerdo en qué año lo fundamos, creo que en el año 99, si la memoria no me falla, y últimamente me falla horriblemente mucho. No es la edad, nada más, jamás que la edad, nunca. Y bueno, nuestra misión está, si bien ustedes saben que los capítulos de los países o los distintos capítulos de ISOC son independientes de ISOC madre, estamos alineados con la misión de ISOC, que es promover el uso de Internet y la educación que tenga que ver con Internet y el acceso a Internet. Entonces hemos hecho varios proyectos muy interesantes. Este es el proyecto más nuevo que hicimos, que se llama Mapa de Internet. Es un mapa que tiene información sobre los países que están en América Latina, de datos de Internet que son relevantes al acceso, a la cantidad de gente que los usa, a las organizaciones, a las universidades que están involucradas con la capacitación que tenga que ver con Internet. Otro proyecto muy lindo que hicimos fue un libro que se llama IPv6 para todos, para no decir IPv6 for Dummies o alguna de esas cosas un poco más gross. Ese libro no traje ninguno, tendríamos que haber traído alguno, Adri, estuvo mal. El libro lo estamos traduciendo, está originalmente en español, impreso y está en PDF, pero lo estamos traduciendo al inglés y hemos hecho un acuerdo con nuestros amigos de .cat, allá está Nacho, grandes amigos. Está en PDF en la página de la Escuela de Gobernanza de Internet y estamos traduciéndolo al catalán. Nacho, ¿cuándo está la versión catalana? No sabemos. Ya está lista. Por eso, falta imprimirlo todo, así que lo tenemos en 3 idiomas, en español, en inglés y en catalán. Ese es el segundo proyecto. Quisiera también comentar, y me voy un poquito de tiempo, estos 2 proyectos los hicimos con la contribución de los Community Grants de ISOC. La región presenta bastante pocos proyectos de Community Grants, así que los invito a que si les interesa yo les puedo dar información, porque yo estoy en el comité de trabajo del Community Grants a nivel global. Así que, ¿qué más hicimos? Hemos participado en la discusión sobre la ley de ciberdelito en Argentina, estamos participando en la discusión y en los nuevos proyectos sobre agenda digital en Argentina. Hemos participado, no en el IGF directamente como capítulo, pero hemos hecho reuniones pre y post IGF en Argentina y hemos hecho encuentros sobre IPv6 Awareness y un montón de otras cosas más, pero es mucho tiempo. Gracias, Andrés. Y buscamos nuevos miembros del capítulo y tenemos acá un nuevo miembro del capítulo que es Andrés, así que todos mis alumnos de la escuela que son argentinos están obligados a quedar bien conmigo y asociarse al capítulo. Gracias.
Voy a seguir representando a Heia Densi, pero bueno, evidentemente reconozco el trabajo de ISOP y no tengo más que apoyarlo. Banda es una organización muy particular, la de Banda, así que...
Sí, bueno, mi organización es una organización de mujeres. Tenemos 2 años de vida, pero somos ya 92 mujeres con representaciones en Brasil, en Portugal, y tenemos la gracia de tener Olga también con nosotros en la Asociación de las Mujeres Ejecutivas en Tecnología de la Información. Así que tenemos, nuestro proyecto es incorporar oportunidades para las niñas en menos regiones y condiciones menos desarrolladas, incluyendo entrenados en software, en redes, estas cuestiones, pero completamente vinculado a un empleo. Así que las entrenamos directamente a un empleo que nosotras mismos logramos organizar y buscar en el mercado de trabajo. Ahora como tenemos en Brasil, por ejemplo, y América Latina también, más de 45% de los lares, ¿no?, de las casas, son mantenidas por las mujeres. Así que tenemos que hacer un esfuerzo para que ellas tengan un sueldo mejor. Esto es lo que hacemos. Gracias.
Again in English. Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society had 3 different representatives in LACRALO since the beginning. It's one of the founders. Jacqueline Morris, then she was ALAC chair and now is still involved. Deb Anand, also, I won't say your last name, Deb. I won't try to do that. He's the brilliant secretariat of LACRALO. He's the one who makes the real work. He will be closing the ceremony, so now I introduce to Sintra Sugnahan. Did I say it right?
Thank you, Andres. I just want to make special greetings to all of you for being here. Thank you so much. And especially to my LACRALO colleagues as well who cannot be here. At Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society, we network local computer users in our jurisdiction. We have been a channel for raising awareness and critical comment on ICT and related technologies, including associated social implications as well as legal issues. And we've been doing this since 1997. I will be 1 minute, so I just want to say that it is my pleasure to encourage you to follow us on Twitter, to become a fan on Facebook, and to visit our website at ttcsweb.org. I believe Jacqueline is distributing cards. You can listen to our podcast. You can also download our FSWin, which is free software, and our OzWin, which is open source software CDs, both for Windows. I thank you.
No doubt that they are the most 2.0 organization in LACRALO. One of the greatest leaders is also Carlton Samuels. He has been delegated from University of West Indies in LACRALO, and now is appointed to the ALAC by the NOMCOM.
Thank you, Andres. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carlton Samuels. I am going to speak to you in English, although my esteemed colleague, Professor Carolyn Cooper, would probably be surprised I wasn't speaking to you in Jamaican. I am from the University of the West Indies, and for those of you who don't know about this, University of the West Indies is the premier regional institution of higher learning in the Caribbean region. We represent the higher learning institution for 15 English-speaking territories in the Caribbean. We are on every dot that exists in the 3 million square miles of ocean that is the Caribbean Sea. We have 53,000 students, 6 faculties, and we have been around since 1948. Most of you would not know this, but we also boast in the 60 years of our history 3 graduates, I say 3, who have been Nobel Prize winners. Economics, literature, and recently as a member of the UN Climate Change Group. Most people don't know that. And I name them now for you. Professor Alan Lewis, who was the Vice Chancellor, got the prize in economics. Derek Walcott got the prize in literature. And my colleague, still colleague, Professor Anthony Chen, who got the prize with the UN Climate Group. Why am I telling you this? There's 3. I am telling you this to let you understand that the University of the West Indies is embedded in the political and social and economic culture of the Caribbean region. As a matter of fact, at least 7 of the serving prime ministers in the regions are graduates of the University of the West Indies. All of the technocratic class in the Caribbean region are graduates of the University of the West Indies. So we have enormous influence in the university. I used to be a member of the senior executive management until last year. I now only am a lowly teacher. I teach in the Faculty of Humanities and Education. I teach information science. So the University of West Indies is absolutely important to the vagaries that comes out of the Caribbean, especially English-speaking Caribbean, given our interest and involvement in governance, in economics and social implications for the region. Now, In LACRALO, we were one of the foundation members of LACRALO. I'm very proud of it. And here I would want to mention and give special recognition to those who came before us and brought us in. I'm speaking of Jacqueline Morris. I'm speaking of Sebastian Ricciardi, Eric Iriarte Ahon. And of course, there's a fellow we used to work with from the staff, Nick Ashton Hart, who was very instrumental in helping us to develop the first instruments, the first governance instruments that had to do with the RALOs, and that actually became part of the entire at-large organization. Those were developed through LACRALO and with the help of Nick Ashton Hart. I want to pay tribute to them for their perseverance and their help in getting us where we are. Now, we have challenges. As you would have noticed, we are primarily English speakers in a sea that is 3 million square miles. And so with our Latin American colleagues, we have been most forward-looking in terms of some of the things related to language in ICANN, in translation services, and ensuring that we have documents that are translated and made available to the community in languages other than English. We were primarily the ones who were first off the bat in these areas. And we continue to represent the region, recognizing that there is language diversity, recognizing that each of us have to look out for all of us, and recognizing that together we have a stronger voice and a larger role to play in the ICANN endeavor. I thank you.
Thank you, Carlton. I didn't know some of the stuff he told, but I'm not surprised at all about your university. So, considering the work they do, I'm not surprised about the Nobel Prizes. Bueno, español de vuelta. Carlton habló de hacer justicia y de hacer algunos homenajes. Yo, en mi poder de presidente, digo, no sé, bueno, dejo mi ALS para el último. Ageia Densi vino con 2 delegados, Fátima Cambronero y José Arce. También le voy a dar un segundito a Carlos Aguirre, que es miembro de la asociación, fue el fundador. Estuvo 2 periodos en el comité ALAC y se retira el viernes. En realidad va al GNSO Council porque continúa su carrera en ICANN como voluntario, pero me gustaría también darle un minuto en homenaje por eso también. Fátima y José primero y luego...
Gracias. Hola, mi nombre es Fátima Cambronero, soy de Ageia Densi Argentina. Ageia Densi es una organización de la sociedad civil con un perfil académico, comprometido con la creación de capacidades y con la participación de las personas y de los usuarios de Internet. Como decía, creo que Sergio fue el que dijo, Ageia Densi estuvo entre los miembros fundadores de este RALO, de LACRALO, en el 2006. Tenemos a nuestro presidente de LACRALO de Ageia Densi y a Carlos de ALAC, que fue elegido en el primer mandato, en la creación, en el primer puesto de miembro de ALAC, y fue reelegido, que ahora se va el viernes. Y bueno, los invitamos a los de Argentina que participen. Así, Olga, ¿dónde te quedás vos con todo? Muchas gracias.
Less than 1 minute, only 30 seconds. Given time is very short, so I won't start by the conclusions. We need more women in the region. Why I said that? I say that because I said that because we have only 6 out of 36 ALSs directed or managed by women. So need more women. And ALEC in the last 4 years grows a lot. And this action was because we have 3 excellent chairs. Annette Melber, Jacqueline Morris here, and I want a big applause for her. And Sherry Landonor. So the conclusion is, we need more women. Please, come on.
Bueno, no voy a negar, no me voy a oponer a eso, Carlos. Le di la palabra, no estaba en el programa, pero como algún día estuve yo también sentado en sus hombros, imagínense, pónganse la imagen en la cabeza. Entonces le permito este tipo de cuestiones. Cerramos cierra este evento de Banan. Nuevamente para mí es un placer permitirle que lo haga. Creo que su trabajo ha sido brillante y la representación que ha tenido, y bueno, me está permanentemente estimulando a mí para poder seguirle el ritmo, para seguirle el nivel de trabajo, de compromiso y de conocimiento, porque además es un ingeniero brillante, así que es un placer estar trabajando con Deb. Los dejo con él.
Thank you, Andres. Well, hard to believe 4 years ago, December 4th, 2006, just 4 years ago, 14 accredited at-large structures from 9 countries in Latin America and Caribbean signed a memorandum of understanding to create the first regional at-large organization, LACRALO. And today, LACRALO has grown to 36 at-large structures from 15 countries to represent the regional interests of the at-large community of individual internet users in ICANN. There are 33 countries in the Latin American Caribbean region. That means that there are 18 countries with no at-large structures and without at-large representation in LACRALO. So that's one of the key goals for LACRALO for the next 4 years. So for anyone from Latin America and the Caribbean who is from a country without an at-large structure, and you'll see a map outside showing which countries don't have at-large structures, talk to us. Get advice on starting a computer user group, an Internet Society chapter, a group that cares about the internet, about domain names, how their CCTLDs run, IPv4, IPv6, net neutrality, other internet governance issues. For those are the groups that we need in LACRALO and in at-large, taking part in the multi-stakeholder, consensus-driven model, bottom-up process on issues related to domain names and internet addressing. And there are challenges. Volume and technical jargon of policy documents can be overwhelming. Translation of policy documents is also a concern when the documents aren't available in Spanish, in Portuguese, or in French. It's even a challenge for us to understand each other when we email each other on the mailing list. Very confusing sometimes. But there's been great progress in ICANN and in at-large and ALAC over the past 4 years, and I'm sure these challenges can be met and overcome. So I'd just like to thank all the speakers for this event. Mr. Rod Beckstrom, Alejandro Pesanti, Vanda, Sebastian, Adam Peak, Cheryl Langdon-Orr, and to all our at-large structures for speaking, thank you. Hopefully there's be an opportunity in the future for all the at-large structures to speak at an ICANN meeting sometime. Yeah. And Andres, LACRALO president. And well, a very, 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 very special thank you and appreciation to the very, very hard-working ICANN at-large staff, Marilyn, Gisela, Matthias, and the director of at-large, Dr. Heidi Ulrich. Please. Yes. Yes. Thank you on behalf of LACRALO. And okay, so we have drinks outside, and there's a showcase of showing all the at-large structure fact sheets. So please enjoy yourselves. Do leave the wireless mics inside the room though. And so enjoy the drinks, enjoy your showcase, enjoy the conference. Have a good evening.
Sí, claro, claro. Portuguese for you? ¿Sabes un poquito portugués? Sí,
claro
portuñol,
sí.
todos saben
Sí,
portuñol.
todo, gracias.
Ahí va.
Precisa de todos modos.
¿Aquí?
Señor. Sí, resuelvo cosas que me estoy olvidando ya ni me acuerdo de qué me olvido. Estoy... Bueno, voy un minuto.
Sí, exacto. Yo dentro de un año...
Volvemos a ver, ¿eh? ¿Viste? Muy bien, vos al final viniste.
Bien, sí, no vine a esto, es la graduación del curso que yo hice acá en Cartagena. Y coincidió